And then this also fits into where we're going here in how to live under this secret administration. Is another verse is 1 Corinthians 7:29, time is short. Okay, folks, time is short. I heard this message since I was a little boy. Time's short. Run out, time's short. Stop what you're doing. Now, Paul's advice based on time is short, the Concordance says the error is limited. So what does Paul say? His advice is, if you're single, don't get married, because time's short. I used to hear that when I was a little boy. I wanted to get married. I was a little boy. It was a long time ago since I was a little boy. And time got long. It seemed like it was short, but it was long. And then his other instruction, and if you're already married, act like you're not. Wow, that's a good way not to be married. You act like you're not married and you don't do your responsibilities, you probably won't be married. Now let me ask you something. This was written in, just somebody threw out a guess of a year it was written.
59.
What was that?
59.
Okay, we'll take it. 59. 1959?
AD.
19?
No.
59? That's the year I was born, by the way. 1959. And they told me time was short. Holy mackerel, 63 years ago. Don't be single, don't get married, because time's running out. Time is short, the era is limited. What? No. It wasn't written in 1959. It was written almost 2,000 years ago. What kind of short and limited is 2,000 years? That time, this era is limited, and the time is short? Let me tell you what's... And by the way, people will not only use this verse as a straitjacket to have you be single, or if you're single, well, just live like you don't have a wife or a husband, and neglect your family responsibilities. But this can be used to get you to do anything, really. And I've heard it. I grew up hearing it. Don't save money. Don't have savings accounts. Spend it. Put it all in the church, because time's running out. Don't get an education. Don't go to school. Don't prepare. Don't get a vocation, because you're wasting your time. Time's short. It's running out. It's been running out for 2,000 years. Is it possible we have no idea what Paul was talking about when we use this verse this way? I'm going to suggest to you that time is not short, and that the era is unlimited. I'm going to make that suggestion to you, because when this was written, it was written when you say, okay, Clyde, all right, you're going on and on about Israel and Paul's the secret administration and the Pentecost administration, and this has nothing to do, it has everything to do with you, what I'm talking about. It's our bearings. It's how we figure out what's going on. This was written during the Pentecost administration while the Middle Wall petition was up and something was going on. And if someone thinks, and I don't mean this unkindly, but I'll tell you what, when you study the Scriptures and when God gives you a realization of who you are and where you fit in His economy, it gives you tremendous freedom and liberty. And I'm here to tell you, and it's so wonderful to be able to tell you, time is not limited. Time is not short. There's plenty of it on God's agenda. Lots of time. Now, you might not have much time. And that's always been true. Always. Not this era. It's always been true. In fact, we talked about it earlier. God said 70. Man's got 70 years of allotment. And if you're really strong, 80 years. Okay, so then what is he talking about then? So if someone reads to you a verse to tell you that time is short and that the era is limited, trying to get you to change your normal life, they do not have a dispensational context for this verse. They don't understand its dispensational context. That it's a part of the Pentecostal administration with the middle law petition up. And they don't have a historical context of the circumstances that surrounded 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Now let me tell it to you this way. You'll follow me in the Bible here real quick. We'll look at a few verses. I am going to stop on this one because it fits well into the rest of what we're talking about. And here we go. Get so many verses here. All right, go to Matthew chapter 5. And I'm going to tell you this. The one thing that's very clear in the Scriptures is that all the hope that lies ahead for Israel of their coming kingdom, Israel's hope. Now this is going to be important, very important to you on a lot of verses that you read. Israel's hope is preceded always by tribulation. And Israel's hope is in 3 stages. The day of Christ, the day of the Lord, and the day of God. 3 distinct prophetic days. By the way, we live in a day today. It's man's day. Whew. We live in man's day. Man's having a heyday. Whew. It will be wonderful when man's day is over. But the next 3 prophetic days all are preceded by tribulation. One is going to be the greatest tribulation. In fact, it's called the Great Tribulation, isn't it? Great. And there's never been tribulation like it before or after. And it's the tribulation that precedes this day, the day of the Lord. The closest day of prophetic day was the day of Christ. Now we're going to read Matthew. I'm going to read you just a few verses and listen to what Jesus says. Matthew chapter 5. I think we forget the context of the book of Acts. And all Paul's early. I think we forgot the context of it. How severe the persecution was. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 10. I'll tell you to get there. I should get there. Happy are those persecuted on the account of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. You know who the kingdom, you know who Israel's kingdom belongs to? Who was the verse say? Those that are persecuted for righteousness. The kingdom belongs to them. All right, go to chapter 24. In verse 9. Then shall they be giving you up to affliction, and they shall be killing you, and you shall be hated of all nations because of my name. He's talking to his disciples. They're going to persecute you. They're going to kill you. They're going to hate you. The period of the Pentecost administration was one of severe tribulation prophesied by Christ. Go to Luke chapter 21. By the way, if you don't rightly divide and read these verses, the only way you're going to have possession of the kingdom of God is you've got to have severe persecution. Chapter 21, Luke 21. and verse 12. Yet before all these things they shall be laying their hands on you and shall persecute you, giving you up into the synagogues and jails, being led off to kings and governors on account of my name. Jesus prophesied, the book of John, chapter 16, in verse 2. They will be putting you out of the synagogues, and coming is the hour that everyone who is killing you should suppose he's offering divine service to God. Everyone who's killing you. Has all the religious circles you've been in, people been being killed and thrown in jail, and Jesus said this is going to happen to you guys. When was it going to happen? In the Pentecost administration. And the book of Acts is a history of that, is it not? And by the way, who's the chief one thinking they're doing God a favor by killing everybody? Saul. Saul's the one who actually is fulfilling this stuff in the early part of the book of Acts. It says I was going to take you through the book of Acts and read you, but I hope you'll remember. He's breathing out threatenings against the ecclesia, against the church. He's getting letters to arrest everyone, men and women, and hauling them off to the court, and stoning people. And Saul's in charge. And then after Saul converts, and you should listen to some of the strong language Paul, I was going to go through that too, but you can find it. Just read Paul's own accounts of what he did. You can tell by his own choice of words it was atrocious what he did to people. In one place in the book of Acts, in chapter... well, I'll tell you what, I know you understand these passages, but Paul's own testimony says this. And in Acts chapter 11, verse 19, it says that the persecution was so strong that the believers were scattered away from their homes into other lands. If you lived in the book of Acts and you were a believer, you probably would, the chances that you would live through that administration were not good. And the chance that you'd end up in prison was really not good. Or if you could catch wind of it and run, you'd have to leave everything. You'd have to leave your possessions. And I'll tell you what, does that sound like a good time to get married? Does that sound like if you're married that your main focus, you know what I'm just going to do? I'm just going to live my life as normal. Just going to continue all things normal. This Pentecost administration was a short period, a limited period of intense persecution. And even Paul says, this is probably the verse that we should see, is Acts 14. Here we go. Now let me ask you something. Is this, here, Acts 14, you got to see this. And then we won't belabor this point. Acts 14:22. They returned to Lystra and Iconium and Antioch, establishing the souls of the disciples. This is Paul. Besides entreating them to remain in the faith. Hey, hang in there. Stay in the faith. And saying, quote, through many afflictions, you must be entering the kingdom of God. There's only one way. Paul encouraged his listener. The only way into the kingdoms, you've got to suffer a lot of affliction. First of all, let me ask you this. Is the wall up or down? Is this my message? I'm going to tell you something about your, and this is going to tie right into where we're going. I'm going to tell you something about your afflictions. The only real afflictions you and I have are those that are the common lot of every descendant of Adam. We're born into misery. It's just tough being a human. It's tough. These are bodies of humiliation, didn't Paul say? And that's at the root of any problem you have. It's just that we are Paul said that we have been in prison and disobedience. So most of our problems come from a body that is humiliating and is decaying, and from the mistakes, which is sin, that we're making. And our trouble is just the common lot of man. And all the other things you think are your problem, the things that you go to bed worrying about, you wake up in the worrying about, beyond the common lot of man. We're not talking about a religious persecution. We're not talking about the persecution that was going on here. Beyond the common lot of man, all the other troubles that you think you have are, and I'm going to say it, are first world problems. I got a flat tire. Oh my. The washing machine's broke. Oh my. The stock market. I lost my money at the stock market. Oh my. Start thinking about the things that bother you. The roof started leaking. We're talking first world problems here. We're not talking about persecution. We're not talking about suffering. We're not talking about this stuff. We're just talking about first world problems. Beyond what we, So listen, you know what? Yes. And Paul knew it was short. I'm not sure what Paul knew. The real question is, people ask, what did he know and when did he know it? And what did Paul know and when did he know it? I don't know. He said that he would come to visions and revelations of the Lord. So he knew he was going to get more revelation. Did he get revelation before he wrote Revelations? I don't know exactly. Okay? But either way, he knew that the Pentecost administration was short and limited. Because either the kingdom was going to come, which one? The first kingdom, the day of Christ. Either it was going to come quickly, intense persecution, the kingdom was coming. In fact, that's what the apostles thought was going to happen, isn't it? Because right before his ascension, they asked him a question. They had been with him in an intense 40-day Bible seminar conducted by Jesus Christ. And what did the disciples ask him right before he leaves? What's their question? Will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? That's the only question they had. They've been studying with him for 3 years and 40 years with their eyes open, and they asked one simple question: is it now? You're going to give us our kingdom now? And he says it's not for you. I can't tell you if I'm going to do it now. But they live with that expectation. And Paul knew either it was coming quick, or if God had let him in at all, how the Pentecost administration was going to come to an end. It was going to be short either way. So this is temporary. This is temporary instruction. By the way, you could use this temporary instruction in certain circumstances. Like if you lived in the Ukraine. Maybe not get married right now. Or maybe not focus on domestic. Maybe you should get out. Or something. You understand how you could use a limited period of time, but not unlimited. But I tell you what, the time we now live in is limitless.